Hey, Glenn, are we going to air? We're airing this, right? Okay, I wanted to. I think so. Hold on a second.
Go on.
This time, we're going to go ahead and start the City Commission workshop for Monday, March 11th, 2024. Can we please call the roll?
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez? Present. Commissioner Colwell? Commissioner Colwell called and said he wasn't going to be here this evening, so...
He wasn't feeling well.
Yeah. Commissioner Harriet?
Here.
Commissioner McCool?
Here.
Commissioner Shimkus?
Here.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee? Mayor Vila?
Here. If we can please stand for the pledge, and I'll ask Commissioner Harriet to lead us in the pledge, please.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this time we're going to start a discussion regarding the 5-year capital improvement plan.
Okay, good evening. This workshop is for the 5-year capital improvement plan. And the questions we are going to answer this evening is, what is a 5-year capital improvement plan? We will review the budget calendar, where we are in the budget process. We will also be reviewing the proposed projects in the capital project funds, which are the municipal complex, the parks projects, the capital equipment replacement fund. We will also discuss the projects in the Transportation Fund, Stormwater Fund, and the Deltona Water and Utility Fund projects. We will also discuss Commission comments, priorities, and project selection. The 5-year capital improvement plan is a systematically developed plan for the identification of public improvements and the identification of financing over a period of 5 years. The data source used to develop, set priorities, and select projects is the comprehensive plan, the City Commission's visioning plan, the strategic plan, and input from the departments. The capital improvement budget, unlike the operating budget, is a 5-year plan updated annually. Only the projects scheduled during the first year of the plan will be funded and adopted as part of the city's annual budget. The purpose of a capital improvement plan is to alert the city of upcoming large financing requirements for needed public improvements and develop financing strategies for their accomplishment. This is the fiscal year 2025 budget calendar. On February 12th through the 15th, the finance staff, the department directors met with the interim city manager to discuss the capital projects recommended for the next 5 years. Today, we are at the March 11th 5-year capital improvement plan workshop. One of the changes to the calendar so far is there has been an extension to the citizen survey due date. It's been moved to March 31st to allow more time for citizens to respond. The next important dates for the City Commission are the May 13th special assessment fee workshop for stormwater and the solid waste funds. And then on May 20th is the first commission meeting for the preliminary rate resolutions for the special assessments. I think you've all seen the entire calendar, which I'm not going to go through every item. I don't believe there's been any other changes. The general fund supports 3 capital project funds: the municipal complex, the parks projects, and the capital equipment replacement funds. The 5 columns across the top of the chart are for fiscal year through fiscal year 2029, with the assumption of 7.35 millage rate for ad valorem taxes. The first line is the beginning fund balance. This is the budgeted fund balance. It's not the actual. The next 4 rows are the estimated revenues. The next 5 rows are estimated expenditures. The row that reads total transfer to other funds for capital projects is the summary of the capital project staff is presenting to the Commission. The detail will be on the following slides. The next row is the overall change in fund balance, followed by the estimated ending fund balance. Please notice the effect on fund balance over the 5-year columns based on the projected projects. So, for example, in fiscal year 2025, we have $6.3 million in projects planned. The next year going out, fiscal year 2026, it's risen to $36.6 million. So the effect on is a reduction of fund balance, and that carries to the next column. This is the detail of the capital projects funds. The most significant proposed projects are in the fire department for fiscal year 25 and 26. A planned new fire station and administration building, $650,000 in the first year and $6 million in the second year, and a fire training complex of $1.7 million over a 2-year period. Fiscal year 2025 has plans for 2 transport vehicles for $1.3 million and a squad engine replacement for $1.5 million. In fiscal year 2026, a replacement fire engine is proposed at a cost of $1 million. The Parks Department has $400,000 projected for Dewey Boster restroom replacements, and the Parks Department has proposed a $25 million new gymnasium and administrative building at West Cryle Park in 2026. This is a totals page for the capital projects. The last row of the slide has the total capital project outlay over the next 5 years. Is there any questions on this before we move to the transportation fund? I know there's a lot of projects in here. It's a lot to absorb, but if there's any specific questions that we can answer, otherwise I'll keep moving.
Is there any other questions from the commission before we go to the next? Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
Okay. This is the transportation fund. The transportation fund accounts for the proceeds from the city share of the 6-cent and the 5-cent local option gas tax. The city share of tax is based on an interlocal agreement with Volusia County. This slide is the same format as the general revenue, with the 5 years across the columns and the rows beginning with fund balance, revenues, expenditures, and the total capital outlay is the summary of projects, which are listed at the bottom of the chart. The beginning fund balance is $5.4 million for fiscal year 2025, with $2.35 million in road resurfacing, sidewalk, and American Disabilities Act transition projects. The ending fund balance is $4.4 million. Fiscal year 2026 has 2 roadway elevation projects planned for Catalina and El Camp Boulevards, which total $8.15 million. This is in response to the flooding issues resulting from the hurricanes. The city anticipates receiving grant funds in the amount of $5.5 million to offset some of the cost. However, please note that the ending fund balance is a negative $5.3 million and increases each year with only maintenance projects planned. Any questions, or should I move on to stormwater?
I do have a question, if nobody else has a question up there. What are we planning to do in regards to the gas tax? Because obviously the county's having an issue with the more the cars become efficient, the less gas tax they're going to be receiving. So obviously that affects us as well. Are we planning anything ahead? Because I'm looking at the gas tax information here, and it looks like it keeps going up when, in fact, it should probably start going down.
I think we're into the 2nd or 3rd year of our interlocal agreement with Volusia County. It's Volusia County and also all the other cities. And the last agreement was a 5-year. and then it was just extended for 2 more years because it took that long to come to a new agreement. The last agreement that the city signed, I believe it's over for a 10-year period. And it's based on the number of roads that we have, population. It's a whole calculation that went into, and actually the city of Deltona receives a fair amount of money collected by the county because of our size and the number of roads. I have not heard anything that they want to renegotiate this deal. It took an awful long time for them to agree to it, so I can't say I haven't heard any change in it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner McCool.
Yeah, thank you. I want to bring up something here also. I understand that we're getting these grant proceeds from the state, correct? Or these are federal or state that we're talking about coming?
Honestly, can somebody else respond to that?
This is state, right, Phyllis? Federal? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to make sure in going over this budget and setting the ask right now that are we pursuing, okay, do we have enough help in our grant department? And I understand that we have an amazing grant writer here right now, but I want to understand that we are fully maximizing our grant ask. Do we have the personnel to do that, Mr. Wickham?
We have one, Gregory is in the community development department right now. We're going to move him over into the position that was vacated a few months ago. And we're going to look to put into the budget this year either an additional person like a administrative staff member in that so that we can have a couple of people working on it. There are other options such as maybe putting out something RFQ for a company that writes grants. That can get very expensive, but sometimes they will do prorated whatever amount of grants they get, that kind of thing. So, but I am planning on hiring, moving Gregory over, replacing him, and then bringing on another staff member for that.
Right, and I thank you for that. And saying that also, I would like to have this commission updated on that because I believe that we've been remiss just through lack of maybe having who we need to do that, to be dedicated to do that. But I would really just like for us to, moving forward, to have somebody, because there's a lot of money out there for us to go after, but it will take a dedicated person to do that. Across the stormwater. I mean, I understand this is where most of our projects are, right? And so having somebody really pursue that is going to be good. And if the commission can be updated, please, because I know that this is your staff, Mr. Wickham, and I appreciate that. And I don't ever want to interfere with what staff is doing, but if the commission can be updated so that we can be forward-facing to our public about what grants we're going after. You know what I mean? If we can have some type of uniform reporting, this is so necessary right now, especially with us taking a fine-tooth comb to the budget this year, and starting out right. I want to make sure that that is happening.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner Harry.
I'd actually like to expand on that a little bit more. And I'm, there's such a wide breadth of grants that are available to us that I think that it's outside the scope of one person. And so I think it'd be advantageous for us to pursue some sort of outside firm that could find grants for us, and that would be their sole responsibility. In terms of getting expensive, it can be if it's not managed correctly, but if we better use the gentleman that you're moving around to manage consultants or manage our contractors, I think we can make sure that stays on task. And then also within most grants, there should be some management and administrative funding that is allocated for each grant that can cover some of those expenses as well. And then, what we're looking for, we've got infrastructure bills, we've got HMGP, we've got Department of Energy grants, we've got grants from every single department, federal government department, and they can address a lot of our capital projects. I feel confident that they can address a lot of our capital projects between general fund, transportation, trust fund, as well as the stormwater fund, the stormwater projects. So I'd like to look, and I'm not sure that we should wait till next year to do that. So.
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Avila Vasquez, and then I'll get to you, Commissioner McCool.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with both Commissioner McCool and Dave. And I think that's what the city manager said, to bring Greg and somebody else. And, you know, having received grants for an organization that I used to run, some of those grants can pay for themselves, because sometimes the grant writer will take a percentage of what we get. So nothing will come from the city side if we find those grant writers that get paid like that. But I think it's good to hear that Greg is going to be doing our grants. He's really a brilliant person.
If I may, Mayor, one thing about grants, and you all are aware, there's usually, most of the time, there's a match to that grant. So we have to have money set aside in the budget, and that's, you know, I got a letter today, I think it was emailed to you all from Senator Wright, and one of those that, unless it gets vetoed by the governor when it goes to his office with the budget, we got $1 million for sewer collection system rehabs, and then another $375,000 towards a designing of a fire station. So we are constantly pursuing grants, even though we don't have the staff in there. Phyllis, myself, Angelia, and several other departments are working together trying to keep us moving in that direction. But you're right, we need a dedicated staff to doing that. And I know in the past with grants, usually, it has to go down to the departments to get information for those grants that are needed, because a grants writer is not going to know every facet of what we do, stormwater, utilities, et cetera. So it takes a team effort, with everybody, to try to secure these grants and be on top of it, and then obviously budget ahead to make sure we have money. I mean, right now we're just projecting, let's say, I know not next year, but a year after, there's a gym on the 5-year capital plan. That's something that we definitely would need, grant money for, because that takes up a lot of our general revenue funds. So just things like that we're trying to pursue. The fire station is a good thing, and we're trying to get that moving. We're going to need to purchase some property for that, just all those kinds of things. So.
Just before we go on to Commissioner McCool, that actually was approved at $350, and the Senate President went back and added the additional $25,000 to that list. So we're very grateful for that. Commissioner McCool, and then Commissioner Harriet.
Thank you very much for that. And I appreciate what Commissioner Harriet said about that. I know that we talked about this last season, some of the revenue and grant writing, and I just really can't say enough about whatever, if it goes to RFP, Mr. Wickham, if you get consensus from commission at some juncture, but I would like to see that fast tracked so that we're aggressive on this grant writing, because with some of the things that we have coming up, we're going to be talking about our stormwater assessment. We're going to be talking about these different assessments. We're going to need that post haste, and I would rather see that process get started sooner rather than later. As we're in budgets right now, talking about how much we need to put aside for that grant writing process and the matching funds, and setting a budget on that, identifying the things as we go through this that are really important to us, and then creating those benchmarks so that we understand how much that we, and the public, more importantly, the public understands what we're doing when we're sitting aside and we have these set-asides, right, for matching grant funds. And I just really want that process to be transparent this year, because there's a lot of fear this year regarding the budget process because it wasn't followed the way that you know what I mean, that the public was used to. So in everything that we do, I'm trying for us to have transparency. I'm trying for us to be forward-facing and more proactive than we've been able to be last year. So that's what my point is. Thank you.
Commissioner Harriet?
Thank you. And I just wanted to touch on matching funds. We already have a list. It's very lengthy of budgets that we need. If we don't get the grants, we're paying for the whole amount. So matching funds they're not going to cost us any extra. They're just a little piece of the pie that we're going to have to pay for anyways. So I want to make sure that the public and then the commission understands that matching funds aren't something to be scared of, because if we don't get the grant, then we're going to be on the hook for significantly more than what the matching funds are. And then I think Glenn brought it up also. Having somebody find the grants is one thing. That's a big piece. The other big piece is management of the grants. And, one staff member will definitely be beneficial, but there's a lot of different studies and different components of getting these grants that are required in order to maintain compliance with the grantor. And, so that's once we get somebody to help us find the grants, it might be advantageous for us to look for somebody also that can help manage them. And both of those things would be eligible, like the other commissioner mentioned, through the grant. So.
Finally, before we move forward to the next topic, one of the things that I wanted to mention was the titles we give these things are important. For example, this year, the gymnasium, they gave no money for that because they understood it to be like a workout, like a gym. So maybe naming a recreational center or something like that will help when it comes to grants, because sometimes people understand that more as a community thing versus a gym to go work out. So if there's no other questions, Mary, you can proceed.
Okay. The Stormwater Utility Fund is funded by an annual assessment of $128 per equivalent residential unit that is included on the Volusia County property tax bill. The funding pays for maintenance of existing stormwater catches, basins, and swales, construction of stormwater handling infrastructure, replacement of deteriorating infrastructure, master planning to solve local flooding problems, and water quality problems and capital improvement projects. The fund balance at the beginning of fiscal year 2025 is $2.5 million, and the capital outlay of planned projects is $3.8 million. The ending fund balance is negative $2.6 million. The detail of the projects is on the following slide. But please note, by the end of fiscal year 2029, the fund balance will be negative approximately $28 million. An evaluation study that was completed last year that estimated to fully address the stormwater issues in Deltona, approximately $50 million is needed over 10 years. This is the detail of the stormwater projects. For fiscal year 2025, there are 2 planned projects for a total of $3 million for East Brook Drainage Improvement Pump Station and Lake Windsor Emergency Force Main relocate. For fiscal year 26 through 2029, have plans to address the Teresa Basin drainage improvement. The costs range from $2.35 million, increasing to $4 million. Is there any questions on this?
Commissioner McCool?
Thank you. This is what I was talking about here when we talk about being in the negative, because the stormwater assessment fee was not done last year. What was the revenue out of that $12 million? What was the revenue from that?
From the stormwater assessment?
If we would have done the stormwater assessment, what would have been that revenue for this fiscal year?
I can't remember. You mean the increase?
Phyllis. Yeah.
Oh, it was over, just over $1 million, I believe, right? Oh, yeah, if we would have went to 160, but we weren't even proposing to go that high. you know.
What was the total revenue, Mary?
Oh, yes, that's right. We were going to go to 160, so that would have been 8 million.
Okay.
And, but just to be clear about this, when we had our consultant came in last year at the beginning, at the preliminary assessments, in order to meet all of these needs, there was a proposed plan to also add in some financing for this to meet all the projects. This is just the global view of how to meet the demands. And also, as you all have said, how important it is to receive grant revenue. So in order to address all these problems, it's a multi-solution or multi-approach solution.
And I understand that, and I get that. I just want to go here with the current rate, right, or what the proposed rate was. I just want to take that $8 million, that would have been $8 million for that annual year, correct, for that fiscal year?
Correct.
You take that $8 million and you project it out annually per this, we would be covering with the stormwater assessment, we would be covering our shortfall here. And I know that we talked about other ways to do that with grants and such. That's fine if we get that. But my concern is that we're now $8 million short of what we would have had to do some of these projects at today's cost. And I want to put that out for the public that last year, I believe that we caved under public pressure. We did, because we had the stories that people were not going to be able to eat, and people showed up, and I don't think that we did a great job of communicating how we were going to implement and what we needed to do. And I want to be a lot more pragmatic this year in talking about this, because without some serious even if we took away looking at the budget, if we took away the stuff that was superfluous looking at this, we still need major funding for the stormwater projects that we need to have. And we can't rest on our laurels even if we have a soft season as far as rain goes. We have stormwater issues that need to be addressed. So I am just stating here that I hope that I see the stormwater assessment come back up. I hope that we entertain that, and I hope that we pass that this year, so that we're not left with these huge gaping holes as far when it comes to stormwater, because we're the ones that have to approve this. The onus is going to fall on us to approve this, but we have to prove it believing in what we're doing, and I do, because I've seen the funding, I see what we have. So if we get grants, fantastic, but I want us to think about that when we bring the stormwater assessment fee back up this year, not folding to public pressure, because it's not the right thing to do. There are projects that I have flooding over in my district right now that the funding this year would have taken care of. So what you're talking about when you're taking care of these projects is now you're cutting back on labor cost of staff to go out there. I don't know how many times I've had staff right out where I have these issues. It is a cumulative effect when we don't take care of these issues right away. So I'm assured, and I am totally fine this year with moving ahead with that assessment. So I just want to put that out right now at the beginning of budget season. It's the easier, softer way. We cannot bow to horror stories anymore when it comes to supporting the whole of our city. So thank you for that, Mary. I appreciate that information.
Commissioner Harriet?
Do we know how much we put in for drainage projects with HMGP, with the county? Did we only put in for those two projects, or did we put in for other projects?
Phyllis?
We put in different ones. We did some of our residential components of folks that were flooded, and then we did our other projects. And we've also excuse me?
Is there a microphone you can use so we can all understand what the hell you're saying?
I'm sorry, Phyllis.
So we've made application both with HMGP as well as with the appropriations in Tallahassee. Tallahassee has gotten us a little bit of money for the LCAM project, an additional $500,000 that will go towards design, engineering, and permitting. HMGP, we've made application for several of our residents for property acquisition, rebuilding, and then actual elevation. So we're in the process of having those applications reviewed with the
And
folks.
that's through HMGP?
That's
Have there
HMGP.
been, were there any other city projects that were submitted for HMGP other than the two the LCAM?
We did LCAM, Catalina. Several of them kind of got pushed away. They didn't rank high enough with the LMS group.
Okay.
We've also just made application for storm in 2022, 23.
Adelia.
Adelia. 2 projects for the city of Deltona. One is a full, it's not stormwater related, full house generator for this building here, so that the entire building runs, as well as a stormwater project called the Eastbrook project, which is one of our capital projects.
Okay.
And so those have been ranked, so we made applications, so we're hoping, hopeful to see that those will be favorably looked upon once they get over to the folks at the Division of Emergency Management.
Perfect. And so we've already got all of those cost-benefit analysis ready to go. So if another grant opportunity comes up, then theoretically, we should be able just to submit and
Right. And just for full transparency, we have to pay for these in their entirety at the front end. Then we get reimbursed. So the budget amount, we need to make sure that we have that funding available because it's a reimbursement process separate from the matching component. And we're looking at other options for the matching component as well. Any appropriations, any other options that are out there, we're going to try to maximize as much resources that we have.
excellent. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, can we give them a microphone over there? That way they have, if it's okay. Phyllis, would you mind just keeping that microphone over there for yourself, please? And for the other staff members that are over there?
Mayor, I do want to make one more point.
Go ahead.
This is firsthand we all got to see and the residents got to see. If we don't do something this year, it just gets bigger next year. So if we save, if I understand how challenging and how tough it can be, but it gets tougher. It doesn't get easier. If we skip a year, it gets tougher. So, and I think that this is we haven't gotten there yet, Mary, but I believe this is the same thing that we're going to see in the solid waste fund as well.
Yes.
So,
That will be solid waste, and stormwater will be the next workshop.
yeah, I think it's important for the commission up here, at least as far as I'm concerned. I'd like to see that all of the funds that we have are self-sufficient. They've got their own secure funding source. We're not propping up any funds with general fund. Otherwise, might as well just make it all general fund.
Mayor, if I may, sorry. Yes, we'll be coming back in May. I believe, I don't remember the exact date in May, but we're coming back in May with a workshop on the solid waste and the stormwater together with the consultants. So, and those projects on the stormwater will be vetted out in that process when they come to do the workshop and do the presentations. And we have to come back, just as a reminder, I think all of you know this, but we have to come back before you every year on those special assessments on the stormwater and on the solid waste. So each year, we would be having to come back anyway. But not passing those assessment fees, it's showing. You're seeing today where we're showing. So anyway, it's up to you all on whatever y'all want to do. Thank you.
Okay. Deltona Water Sewer Fund. Deltona's water sewer utility accounts for the operations, capital improvements, and construction of capital projects, and it's financed and operated like a private business. The cost of providing water and sewer services to the residents is recovered through usage charges for those services. This fund was established in November 2003 when the city acquired the utility from Florida Water Services and was financed through a revenue bond. Over the years, the bond has been refinanced and additional debt has been issued to expand the utility to keep up with demand. The most significant planned projects are in fiscal year 2026. There are a $28 million Fisher upgrade to advanced water treatment process, which is a regulatory-driven project, and a $36 million Eastern upgrade to advanced water treatment project, which is a growth and regulatory-driven project, which expands the capacity of the plant. If these projects go forward, the effect will result in a negative fund balance. An in-depth rate study will be conducted in fiscal year 2025 to address the shortfall. And we are also pursuing grants as well. The following slides provide the detail of the proposed projects. Deltona Water has the greatest capital improvement projects, and there's actually a third slide, which is a summary page of all the detailed projects, as well as the equipment needs for the utility. So this 5-year capital improvement total is $114,100,400. Is there any questions on this?
Yeah, there's Commissioner McCool.
Yeah, thank you. Mary, I need to understand here, can we talk about the Fisher upgrade? And I want to talk about the recharge project also, because that's what we were initially doing out at Lakeshore. Well, that didn't go too well, right? So we have money lost there. So I want to understand, and within this budget cycle and with Fisher, that we know what we're doing at this time. I don't mean that in a cavalier way, but what I'm saying is there's no way I understand to see what was happening with Lakeshore. I mean, they hit artesian wells, right? But we have a loss from that, which I still want to talk about what we're recouping from that. But with us trying to make the transition also and new development over to sewer, can you tell me about the upgrade with Fisher? That's $28 million there.
Yeah, Fisher, it's actually for advanced waste treatment. AWT is advanced waste treatment, which we're being required to go to when we're in the Blue Springs shed, the BMAP area. But we are pursuing grant money. We just got some grant money for the design of that project, and that project may be out a little bit further because it's going to take probably about 18 months to design and permit it in the beginning anyway. So there are opportunities for grant money for clean water, for the wastewater side of it. So we're going to be pursuing that as we go along. And then the Eastern, as far as that goes, is just basically expansion and doing a few modifications in the plant to be able to meet advanced waste treatment. So if we do go the route of septic to sewer, if we have to go that route, all this is planned for the expansion for that, to be able to have the capacity to treat that additional sewer. And then also along with that, we would have to expand our reclaim system and those types of things. One of the other projects on here is a injection well, and that would be so that we could store water down in the aquifer and get credits in for our cup. So, and basically that's it. That's pretty much it on those two plants.
Okay, and the last thing, Glenn, I want to go the residential backflows. I had $500,000. Where are we at with that as far as helping out the residents? I mean, where did we stand with that whole backflow?
What we're trying to do is we're going forward back to DEP to try to change our cross-connection control program where we can go to a type of backflow preventer, a residential dual check, which costs less than the RPZs or the reduced pressure zone assemblies that are out there now. We're trying to get approval. With these new meters, we won't have to do change outs if we get these residential dual checks in, and once we get all the monitoring up with the towers and everything, we'll be able to see if there's any kind of backflow occurring, if we're getting anything like that. So we'll be able to go at least 5 to 10 years through rule says before we would have to change out those backflow preventers.
Can you tell me how that translate into money saving or cost avoidance for the residents right now? Because some have already paid for this, some I think that we've already helped with. Can you comment on that?
Yes, and primarily, it's going to be somewhere, if you do an RPZ now, just the cost of the backflow preventer itself is somewhere around $400 right now. These new ones are about $78, I believe is the price I heard a couple of days ago.
And are we going to offer some type of assistance for the residents that have, put out, like, I understand we can't dictate, we have to do what the state says at the time, right? But I just want to make sure that everyone's concerns are being addressed as far as that goes.
Right, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And we'll be bringing, once we get that cross-connection control program updated and we'll have to come back to y'all to be able to get it into the ordinance.
Commissioner Vila Vasquez, and then Commissioner Harriet.
Thank you, Mayor. Going back to Commissioner McCool's question about Lakeshore Drive, are we not going to get some money back from the contractor for the damages caused? And if I remember correctly, there were some grants that we were going to try to get to help with the problems we came up with there.
As far as money back from the contractor, the whole thing is it's unforeseen circumstances with the springs that popped up, or the boils, if you will. As far as the grants go and the SRF loan, through DEP, we're working with them. We got to finish putting something together and call a meeting back with them. We're trying to work that out. We have been returning some of the material, some of the piping so far. And we're looking at a project that we may be able to use the HDPE pipe on, some of the other pipe that we have. So yes, we're going to be meeting with them and see where we need to go next with St. John's and DEP.
So we are looking to get some money refunded, or at least some money from somewhere to help us with the project there. And that's what's holding us back, right, on the boat ramp?
No, we're still in fact, they just did a pre-bid meeting for the up on the hill, I call it, up by where the condos are for the landscaping, everything. And we're still working with the consultant getting a design, because we got to replace that seawall. We got to pull all those sheet piles out. So we're still working. We should be, I'm looking over the other side of the room, but I think should be getting ready to go out to bid, where that can be completed and go out to bid here in the next couple of months or so. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Harriet.
Glenn, where are we on the water meter replacement program that was being funded through ARPA?
We had purchased the meters. We have the meters in stock, and they've been putting them in, and I think we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 16,000 installed so far between what the contractor's done and what Deltona Water Crews have done. So almost halfway, a little less than halfway.
And then once those meters are all installed, my understanding is that there's some technology within the meters that will allow residents to then monitor the usage remotely?
Yes, once we get them all in, before we get them in, we'll be coming back to you all, to the commission for approval to start getting that system installed. Basically, it's just a communication system. Then at the end, the last phase of it will be a portal where the residents will be able to go in and look at their meter usage, their water usage and all that, yes.
Can we get the rest of the system on the CIP as well, since we know that that's going to be coming up and that's going to be necessary to complete the whole, everything that was originally sold to the residents, that's going to be required. So let's, if we don't mind, if we can.
Yeah, so we're hoping to have all the meters installed, I don't know, probably toward the end of this year, beginning of next year. So it won't be as much as what we already have out there as cost-wise, because we're already done over half already. So yes, we will look at it and make sure that it's all in there of what we need.
So is that additional software package, or the additional connectivity components, are those budgeted in the CIP are they listed in the CIP in front of us now?
No, they will be there. This CIP that we have in front of you right now is kind of preliminary, but a lot of the cost is going to go into our operations budget because you got reoccurring fees every year for all this. So a lot of it will be in the O&M budget.
Okay, thank you.
Glenn, do we, are we even thinking about, as far as for the backflows go, trying to do like a bulk purchase for them? Because I think at the end of the day, if we think about doing like a bulk purchase and even having somebody from our staff who is trained to do it, or do an RFP to get somebody out there, just one better to do it, it would be so much cheaper for the residents than them trying to go out on their own to purchase the backflows and then having them hire a plumber to install them. Do we think about something like that?
We're going to be installing them. The city's going to be installing them, so that's why it's spread out over a few years to purchase them. You could purchase them all at one time, but that's a big chunk of money at one time. But we're going to be getting them installed, installing them, and going out for an RFP because, I mean, that's quite a few that's got to be installed. So we would have to either hire a whole crew of people or have a contractor to help us, and we can do both. You know, we can have people in house, but it takes quite a bit of time. You got to go in and cut a section out of the pipe, pass the meter, you know, install the residential dual check. So yes, we could do that. There's no way we can get all those installed, not even in a year. That's quite a bit.
Last question regarding this, because I was looking at some of the accounts and we're kind of in the negative. The $78 million that Congressman Corey Mills has requested to be released from Congress, are you guys taking that into account here or no? I'm hoping not, because that's not guaranteed until it's actually.
No, it's not in there right now. And part of those funds would be the CRA for Deltona Boulevard sewer. I think there was a section on Saxon from I-4 to Normandy, I believe. And then there was one more component. I don't remember off the top of my head, but there was three things that had been submitted. And those were based off of the study that was done in 2022. So yes, and if there's any way we can get more money, you know, for the advanced waste treatment plants, you know, the plants themselves, that would be awesome.
Because I know the concern when we were talking about it was that part of the $78 million would help kind of cover some of the charges for the Fisher plant. And is that still the case or not?
Yes, if we got that approved, and that's what we wanted to do is the Fisher. But you know, originally these funds were put in for those other 2 projects, I think 3. I don't remember the third one off the top of my head, but.
Okay, thank you.
The process of preparing a capital improvement plan is designed to allow time at the discussion stage to review priorities.
Mary, we can't hear you, sorry.
The process of preparing a capital improvement plan is designed to allow time at the discussion stage to review priorities, the funding needs, and select projects, as well as any impact on the operating budget. This review was intended for the Commission and the public to gain an understanding of the overall needs of the city, to assist in setting the highest priorities, and to move forward with a plan to meet the most pressing needs. And I just want you to know that we are available for questions. I think a lot have been answered along the way.
Commissioner McCool.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to talk about, I know that we have our calendar here, and I'm just putting this out here in the universe, whether it be this year or next year. But in trying to understand how we can keep our millage rate low or keep it where it is, even go to roll back and understanding where our revenue comes from, because we are so high residentially based. And I'm going to just say it again I'm going to just put it out there again, is that we have in our city 58% of our revenue comes from a tax base that is not paying 100% of property value for whatever reason, right? Through whether it's Save Our Home, whether it is for whatever it is deserving of that homeowner that they are getting. I mean, I paid $700, I think, either $700 or $900 in property taxes, right, for the year. And thinking about distribution through our city and what our largest expenditures are, other than stormwater, is our public safety, is our fire and our sheriff's contract, right? And I would like some discussion, and I would like to understand what this city looks like based on the high residential percentage that we have. We have high residential, low commercial, right?
Correct.
So we have 42% of our residential tax base that is paying like full property value and contributing to, everybody contributes, but what I'm saying is pays that right into, that's what we use to operate our general fund. And I would like to understand, has anyone ever discussed, has the city ever discussed or looked at a special fire or public safety taxing district so that there is a different distribution of those funds coming in? Have we taken a look at what that would be per household? I think that today, in doing some precursory stuff, I wasn't sure how many businesses we have in Deltona, businesses, churches, or other exemptions, but in reviewing all of the properties, how many properties, taxable properties, do we have in the city of Deltona, and what does that special taxing district look like with that distribution? Our revenue, or what we're paying out right now, I think is close to $28 million per year between our sheriff's budget and our fire department budget, right? And if we take that across 37,000 households, right, or we look at it spread out the taxes across the households and the businesses, what does that distribution look like as opposed to what the taxable distribution is right now? And I'm just wondering, have we taken a look at that? Are we willing to take a look at that to see what type of revenue that produces for the city? Splitting it up that way. Have we taken a look at that? Has there ever been any discussion on that?
There has. There was a study done. I think it was before I was in the finance department, and a full evaluation was done. And I think at the time they decided not to go forward with it. It was brought up again, I think, by one of the more recent city managers, and I don't think there was any follow through on that. But I would be happy to, I know that information is still available, it's dated, but I'll be happy to share that plan with you, and you can
Well, do you know what the reason is? Anyone remember the reason why it did not go through? Was there not enough revenue enhancement there, or why did they not go through with it?
I don't know the answer to that. Does anyone who's been here a long time remember?
Okay, if we could take a look at that, even the dated information. When you say dated, how long ago was that?
It was, let's see, probably around 2014 or 15.
Yeah, so that's a long time ago, and I just want to see if the picture has changed. I don't know if that would be the consensus, Glenn, or
It would be worthwhile to look at it because there's an awful lot of things that they take a look at when they make this evaluation, and I don't remember why they concluded not going forward with it. But, I mean, we might as well take a look at before we go out and spend more money to have evaluation, find out what the previous staff had decided.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the May 13th special assessment fee workshop, which that would fit in if we can come back with that information. I don't know how to get consensus or whatever right now. Do I need to get consensus on that, or do I just need to make that request, Mr.?
I think you would need to get consensus. Can y'all hear me? Okay. We can certainly pull the study out and provide that to you before then, so you can look at it. If you want to try to look deeper into it, then I think we would need a consensus to do
At a
that.
commission meeting? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay, so please know that that's coming down the pipe. I will be asking for that, for consensus at the next regular commission workshop, between now and then, or next regular commission meeting. If you could send me that even dated information, that would be great to see what they looked at, see what the reasons were. If I can pull up I'll pull up the meetings to see why. But I think that we need to, in looking at revenue generation, because that's what we talk about, right? Spend less, make more. And if we're talking about that, then we need to examine all of that. Last thing I want to do is cut services here, and that's what everybody's talking about. In order to dump the millage rate, you have to cut services, and I don't want to cut any services that we have. So if I can have that information, that would be great.
Yes, ma'am. And our next regular commission meeting's on the 25th, which is a couple of weeks. So we should be able to get that to them, right?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Harriet?
I'd actually like to go one step farther and include something else in that. If we're going to look at a special taxing district, I'd also like to look and see if it would be worthwhile to reduce the general fund millage and implement a specific public safety millage, and not necessarily just a special taxing district, but that way we can separate public safety and general fund. We could go to rollback on general fund while maintaining adequate level of service and public safety.
Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner. I think personally, maybe we should really work hard on fixing our land use codes to see if we can really bring in more commercial, so we stop depending so much on residential taxes. And, I'm sorry, maybe I'm looking at this from a different angle. I get a lot of messages, and I'm sure somebody will request them, and they're there, of residents that are either going on food stamps or thinking of leaving the city. If everybody's tightening their belts, maybe the city should do as well. It's just my 2 cents. Mary?
That's all I had.
All right. Is there any public comment? I think we have one coming up.
Two quick questions about the backflow preventers. So it was mentioned that we're going to do something different. So my question is, has anybody been notified? Are we going to notify residents? I mean, we have some people out there that have either paid to have this done or they're making plans to do so. So are we going to communicate that? My second item, what was my second item? AMI system, thank you. Okay, so for the AMI system, I know that Glenn, you mentioned that part of the cost is going to be in monthly recurring charges. And so my understanding is that to bring the rest of the system online, that has not been paid for. That's something that we're still going to have to budget. I know that grant that we had that we took the COVID money, there's some question of whether or not it was supposed to pay for just the meters or the whole system. And from what I've learned is that it only paid for the meters. It didn't pay to bring us online and for that network. So I'm expecting that we would have that network cost included in improvement projects. And then, yes, the monthly recurring charges are going to be in our operational costs. But I'd also like to hear what is the monthly operational cost that we're expecting to see in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No more? All right. City manager comments?
Mayor, I don't have any more comments tonight.
Meeting's adjourned.